I remember going into middle school and just going to the local thrift store with a lot of my friends and just like spending whatever money we had. And then later as I grew up, it became like really, really, really trendy. And I'm glad that I got to know the vintage side before the craziness of it. Basically, every store I go to, I have a floor plan of what I do. So, like, I'll have my own route to each store, and you basically in every store, it's shoes first, always. I'm a shoe fanatic. I love shoes. It is because when it comes to thrifting, they are very limited, and every girl goes to shoes first. At least the girls that I know. And when you're shopping with girls or thrifting with girls, you have to have first dibs on shoes. Number one rule. I had been at this thrift store for maybe like 15 minutes, and you know, this girl came in and she was just like, gave me the stink eye. You know, it happens sometimes, but you just gotta kind of ignore it, because then it's just gonna psych you out. It's like a battle. It's a battlefield in a thrift store, definitely. And then, you know, she saw me with, like, my cart filled with all kinds of stuff. It was just overflowing of just everything. And I remember going to the fitting room and trying stuff on. And, you know, most thrift stores, and that thrift store in particular, you have to go outside to look at yourself in the mirror. So I was kept on going in and out out of the fitting room. And, you know, she was, like, standing right next to me and just kept on staring at me and rolling her eyes. And it was just, like, a really awkward situation. But I left the store with, like, 5 bags, and I was left very happy. I basically, you know, I run around different cities. Like in San Francisco, I'll go to San Francisco sometimes and pick up some vintage pieces and come back to LA. And then I sell online, as well as I rent out pieces to stylists who need them for video shoots, lookbooks, anything, photo shoots, anything that they need to style. And my main focus right now is just to get as many editorial pieces or editorial photo shoots with my pieces in them. And my mom is the biggest influence. She has bred me to become the person I am. You know, she took us yard sailing and thrift store, like, not even just knowing about thrift stores and how trendy they are now, but that was our option, is just go thrifting. You know, there wasn't a mall option for us, so I always had that with me since I was a kid. When I sell vintage clothing, it's usually online, and then I also buy for stores. There's a store in downtown called 600. A lot of my pieces go into that store. It does really well there. A lot of people love the selection that I carry. What I do is basically repetitive. Nothing is ever pocketed for me. It's always recycled back into the clothing that I'm going to go. So if I were to sell at a flea market or a farmer's market or a special event, you know, whatever money I make out of that, I usually go back to the thrift store and buy some more, just to keep it up to date. You know, a lot of the pieces I sell for very inexpensive, because I'm allowed to do that because I buy inexpensively, and that's one of the things that people look towards. So it's always a recycled process. Like the clothing, you know, the money's also recycled, and the whole aesthetic of Around the City Vintage is very recyclable. What do I call you? Can I call you Fernando? I don't like Fez. Or Fernando is my partner. He's the one that usually goes thrifting with me. He's the bag carrier.
My name is Fernando. I'm known as Fez, and I am the helper / men's vintage buyer, yes. And I help out the aesthetics of the types of styles that I want to see men wearing in 2010 and on. I help her buy. I am the bag carrier.
We definitely want to travel with Around the City Vintage. We'd love to do a U.S. tour. eventually branch out to a world tour. We would love to set up shops in different cities around the States.
Maybe do some shows, do some local selling, flea markets, anything that we can hop on, communicate, and be able to reach out, network to people around the States and see if we could create a planned trip for popping up at different cities.
I love the thrill. I love adrenaline because I get adrenaline from thrift shopping. I get really anxious, and I love that feeling. I love finding amazing pieces that, I'm not going to find anywhere else. And I love sharing all these amazing finds that I find with everybody, either if I'm selling it or if it's going to be on a magazine or if it's going to be on a blog. I just want to share my love for vintage and my love for thrifting, basically.